Right on his head. Here we go.
It's outside.
Big shoulder block. Conley goes down. Oh, the leg! Conley kept the leg. Another big arm drag. Japanese arm drag.
Double hip toss.
Great teamwork.
Another double hip toss.
Great teamwork by these guys.
Double drop kick.
Rock and Roll Express right there.
There you go. And that bit of Conley, the tumbler, Timmy Lou.
What is up, WrestleRonians? I'm Spooky Lou Carpenbarker. You're listening to WrestleRoni. Big episode today, and I ain't playing. Listen to this. Current AIWF Great Lakes Heavyweight Champion. Current Mid-Atlantic AIWF TV Champion. Current Mega Pro Heavyweight Champion over a year now. Our very special guest, Mr. Benny Conley. How you doing, sir?
I'm not too bad, man. I'm sure you're not doing too bad either, having a 3 promotional, 3 state, and 3 different title holder on your podcast. How are you today?
I am in the presence of greatness. I'm well aware of it. I'm over the moon, my man. I'm so happy to have you on. The honor is all mine. You're kind of killing it right now, huh?
Yeah, man. I've had my ups and my downs, but I really do feel like I'm on a really good up right now, and I couldn't be more fortunate for that. Not everything is sunshine and rainbows and butterflies, but right now it is one.
For sure. As far as I understand, you've been in the game since, over 10 years now, right?
Yeah, March 5th, 2010. I've been doing this over 12 years now. I did take about a 16-month hiatus off between 2017 and 2018. I tore my ACL on both meniscuses and had to have rehab and physical therapy and surgery and all that crap, but got through it. It was very difficult, and then coming back to the ring after that was hard to get my callus back. But with hard work, anything's possible, and I've been working hard and got that callus back.
For sure. And hey, from on the outside looking in, I watch your matches in VCW, a recent classic with Jason the Gift Kincaid. You wouldn't know that you've had an injury one in life. So props to you, smooth like butter.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's difficult being a professional wrestler in today's age because it seems like no matter what you want to try to do or no matter what ideas you have, they've already been done. And taking something and making it your own is something that I've really been trying to work on since coming back from the injury. And, feel like wrestlers go through different gimmicks, and at first they hate having these gimmicks. But if you look at the bigger picture, if you take something from each little gimmick you try, you can form a whole gimmick from that.
Okay.
And I feel like that's where I'm at this stage, 12 years, almost 13 years into the wrestling career, into the wrestling business, I started off under a hood gimmick and graduated to another hood gimmick and finally pulled the hood off and was like a white meat baby face and, learned how to sell. And that's something that people today overlook or forget about,
For sure.
But yeah, I'm very happy to be on here. Was recommended to come onto this podcast, and I don't do many podcasts. So whenever I heard about this one, I was like, yeah, I can't wait.
Wow, I appreciate the hell out of that. Well, like I say, the honor is mine. Definitely appreciate having you on here. I'm sure you have a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of stories, all kinds of stuff we can get into. To go ahead and hook them in early. Let's hook them in early. We was talking before we started here, and you just happened to casually throw out the name Hangman Adam Page. Let's go ahead and hop into that.
Man.
Yeah, I can't blame you. Who wouldn't? how does that come about? Where were you at in your career? Anything and everything you can tell me about working a couple matches with Hangman Adam Page, please.
Yes, for sure. Hangman was a very, very kind and generous person in and out of the ring. The first match I ever had with him, I was tagging with the Infinite Man, Timmy Lou Retton, and we faced John Schuyler and Adam Page. And it was in Princeton, West Virginia, and I had never been more nervous for a match because I think at the time Hangman had just joined the Bullet Club. He was kicking ass in Ring of Honor and about to start doing his thing in New Japan, and I was just like fangirling for the first time. I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm about to have a match with this guy. And I remember like Timmy kind of calmed me down. It's like, bro, he's just a person. We're going to go out there. We're going to have a good match, and it's all going to be okay. And he was right, man. Went out there, and I feel like we had a really good match. I was a very green kid at the time, and I was just nervous to say, hey, this is what I do. Like, because when you put matches together, a question that's commonly asked is, okay, what do you do? And, man, when you're a younger talent, sometimes you don't want to say, or you don't want to say anything because you're just so happy to be in the match, or you don't know what to say because you're so nervous. And, you know, at this stage, like, I know what I do, but back then I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what to do. So I didn't want to freeze up out there. But, you know, they helped me get through that. And in doing so, we had a really good match. And I remember, I think it was a couple, 3 or 4, 5, 6 months down the road, I had a singles match with Hangman Page. It was in it was still in the same town, different building, Princeton, West Virginia. And man, I had no ideas for the match, and Hangman just kept giving me idea after idea after idea. And, you know, we had a really good match there too.
Wow.
I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to say I knew he was going to be great because I totally didn't, but I knew that he was going places for sure. And I kind of said something hilarious the last time I saw him. I was like, hey, man, I hope to see you at the show one day. And he just, like, gave me a thumbs up or whatever. It's very weird on my part probably, but looking back, it was kind of funny. So I don't care if it's out there.
By God, you were right. He's at the show if anybody is, man. Like, I'm so happy for him. John Moxley. There's a bunch of guys, but those guys just seem like genuine dudes that came up from nothing. Hell, I used to tape trade with John Moxley back in the day, and here he is. You know?
That's pretty sweet. Yeah. You just never know. Like, growing up in wrestling, they always said, oh, you know, I saw that guy when he was younger. I saw this guy before he got signed. And then, you know, now that I've been in this a while, you see that a little bit everywhere. You're not going to know everyone you see on TV or wrestle them or seen them on shows or whatever, but you're going to see a few of them if you stick in this long enough. And it's crazy how small the world is. You know, it makes me feel like I've wrestled that guy. So if I try hard enough, that branch to the next step is reachable. I just got to really apply myself. And that's what I've been trying to work on.
And you're doing a hell of a job. I mean, speaking of things of that, like of that nature, I remember a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, turning on Ring of Honor, and there's the man that trained you, Jason Kincaid, on Ring of Honor television. And I went nuts in my living room because I don't know the guy, but I know that guy. That's one of our local legends, by God, on Ring of Honor. And hell, he was just on Point on IWTV last week. Like, Jason Kincaid, what can you tell me about that man?
When I first met Jason, I was a very immature young man, you know, just fresh out of high school, that mindset. And seeing how he deals with things, seeing how kind he was to me and others made me want to be that way in and out of the ring. And, you know, he was the first person to really sit me down and tell me everybody's going through something. So if you could be kind, that might help them out a little bit. And, you know, he's one of my best friends in the whole world. We go up and down the road together all the time. And tagging with him, there's like no better tag partner. But I do want to tell a story about Jason. In 2016, we had an Evolve tryout in Joppa, Maryland.
Oh, wow.
And we actually got to wrestle each other for the tryout match. And we knew it was just going to be a 5-minute tryout match. And we had a training center local to us. And we tried to we wrestled our tryout match. We figured out everything we wanted to do in a 5-minute span. And then whenever we went up to Joplin, Maryland and did our seminar, I think it was led by like Chuck Taylor, Drew Gulak, Matt Riddle.
Wow.
And Matt Riddle was still like in the early training stages. He was just stepping into like indie wrestling and whatnot. But we were like, we either need to be the first tryout match or the last tryout match. And Gabe Sapolsky was there, and he said, you know, there is a spot on the show for somebody there's one spot in the show for y'all. And I think there was like 24 of us or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Jason were trying to get to be the first match, but someone beat us to it. So then we decided, well, we're going to do the last match then. That way we're the freshest.
Mm-hmm.
Like their eyes, the last thing they saw was us. That was our idea. And we had our 5-minute tryout match. I can link that to you also because I have that, but it's in front of like 0 crowd. And afterwards, you know, there's a line to Gabe and there was a line to Drew, and they were just giving you advice and pointers on what you could do better. And, you know, this is what you need to work on, blah, blah, blah. And I remember I was behind Jason, and Gabe had told Jason, you know, he said, you know, you're the best guy out of this tryout, but I don't want to give you the spot on the show tonight because I could do something better with you. And that's how he got his Evolve contract, more or less.
Okay. I remember seeing him on quite a few Evolve shows, right? Towards the end, man, timing sucked on that, but he was tearing it up in Evolve.
For sure, yeah.
Yep. And obviously, you've been lucky. You've been lucky to be surrounded by a wealth of talent, and that's had to have rubbed off. But enough about the other guys. Let's get to know Benny Conley. Where did you find your love for wrestling? When did you say this is what I want to do with my life?
You know, one of my earliest memories is sitting on my dad's lap watching WWF Monday Night Raw during the Attitude Era. I was born in 1994, so like I remember 97-ish into present day, more or less. Took breaks here and there watching it, but, you know, I remember guys like Stone Cold, The Rock, Kane. I loved Kane as a kid. Man, that guy was, I don't know, perfect for me. But I was also like a fan of China, but I loved Monday Night Raw. And my dad and I bonded over that wrestling, and to this day we still bond over wrestling.
Oh yeah, my dad hates it, so lucky for you.
Yeah. When I'm from Oak Hill, West Virginia, and in the 60s, 70s, they had WOAY wrestling. And,
Okay.
It was live from the TV station. I think it started at 8, the live shows, and then at 10 o'clock, you can go home and watch what they taped. And my dad's mother used to take him to that. So that like formed his love for wrestling. Unfortunately, his mother died when he was 11 years old, so she never got to know that her grandson was going to become a professional wrestler. But he's told me so many times, your grandmother would have loved to see you wrestle, and just stuff like that. You know, it makes me feel like this was meant to be, you know.
For sure. It sounds like, yeah, it was in the water that way. It was in the blood as well, so here you are. Did you and your dad ever hit up any local shows growing up?
No, the first show I went to was like a half a mile down the road from my house, and Ricky Morton was there. Like,
Okay.
It was pretty cool. But my best friend growing up, his name was Anthony, and his uncle is the Cuban assassin Richie Acevedo.
Okay.
And so his uncle took us to the show. We watched the show, and I don't know, I was like 7, 8, 9 years old when that happened. There was another indie that had a studio show in Oak Hill. It was ran by Brian Logan. It was called AWA Apex.
Okay.
And then fast forward, like that ended very quickly. Fast forward a few more years, I was 15 years old hanging out at Anthony's house, and his uncle shows up and he's like, hey man, you still like wrestling? And at the time, it was 2010. It was 2009, not even 10 yet. I I'd quit watching it. I had not watched it for a couple of years. I got into like video games and skateboarding, other stuff for the
For
first
sure.
time. And at the time, wrestling wasn't the cool thing. And,
Yeah.
John Cena done gagged us
Yep.
for a while. So I'd quit watching it. But, when he said that, he's like, hey, you still watch wrestling? And I was like, it's been a while. Why? He's like, we can't get no referees. We need some referees. And I was like, well, are you like, I'm interested, and he's like, well, I'll take you to a couple shows with me and we'll see if you still like it or not. And if you do, we'll figure it out and we'll train you to be a ref. And he's like, you got to get your parents' permission and you got to get your principal to sign a work permit.
Okay.
So I got this principal at my school to sign a work permit that was for JDR Promotions. And he kept asking me what it was for, and I was like, just to referee wrestling matches. And he was giving me like the weird eye, but he went ahead and signed it. And I went to a couple of indie shows with Richie. I think I went to like XMCW in St. Albans. I went to the Ward Wilson Memorial Show in Beaver. And then eventually I made it to Bud, West Virginia on March 5th, 2010. We had called it the world famous Powwow Center, but it was this old rundown couple room school, and we ran in this small little gym there. And, I met guys like Billy Litt and Chris Keffer, Michael Cook, the Mighty Hojo at that show. And I refereed Cuban versus Michael Cook that night, one match. I remember putting the ring up. It was covered in a foot of snow, so we had to knock all the snow off of it. And just, I don't know, the canvas was included with that, so it was just like cold and wet and icy, but we still ran the show. I think there was 16 fans there.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know, different. I didn't really know any of these people. They didn't really know me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I went to like 2 or 3 shows refereeing, and then the classic, oh no, a wrestler didn't show up. We need someone to fill the spot. So, like, I took in a couple of bumps in the ring, hit my head pretty hard, and I said, man, I don't know if I can do this or not.
Yeah.
And then they just threw me into this match. They taught me how to take a body slam, taught me how to take a hip toss, and taught me how to like run from corner to corner. And then they had me go in this match, and it was against Buddy Love.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that guy or not, but he attacked me from behind. I was taking my jacket off, and he like let me sell, and then he shot me to the corner and gave me a hip toss, and then gave me a body slam, and then like a big splash. 1, 2, 3. That was it. Squash match city. But it was my foot in the door. And I remember coming back from the locker room, and Michael Cook told me something I tell the young kids all the time now. He's like, brother, it's the worst than any drug you can ever do. It's in your blood now, and you can't shit that shit out. And it's the truth, man. Like, I can't walk away. I can't run away. I can't fly away. I find wrestling every corner. And I love that. I don't know if I'll ever stop loving that, but I love that part of it.
You got your ass whooped and fell in love. But you was paying
Don't that happen to
dues.
all of us? Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Hell, I didn't make money wrestling until after my first 10 years.
Right. Right. And that's what we have a co-host that joins us every once in a while. I tell him, these guys do it for the love. There's not a whole lot of money to be made in independent wrestling. Y'all's doing it for the love, and I respect the hell out of all you guys because, yeah, it's not for everybody. I promise you that. So from there, you take a few bumps. You got the bug. You got the drug in your system. So where do you go? How does training come about? Where do you go from there?
So whenever I started traveling with Richie, it was like they had a TV syndicator on the CW out of Bluefield, and it was called Championship Wrestling. And
Okay.
I came in at the tail end of that. Like, I don't even think I ever did a CW taping. I know I didn't. But I remember at the end of my first year, I started in March 2010. By December 2010, that was the first TV taping for what they called WVCW, West Virginia Championship Wrestling.
Okay.
And that was ran by, at first, it was ran by Richie, a.k.a. the Cuban. It was ran by Eric Lester, who wrestled as Eric St. Clair, and another man I won't mention because I don't want to give him any credit. But he just didn't do very good things.
We won't mention their name on such a coveted podcast as WrestleRoni.
But I remember a month before they started their TV, it was the day before my 16th birthday, I got booked tagging with Mad Dog Lynch against two masked guys. I cannot remember their names. It was for Brian Resner in Mabscott, West Virginia. I think it was Club Phoenix is what he called it. And he put tag belts on us. And it was those same tag belts that we took to WVCW and used. I think someone there that was at that show owned them or something like that. I'm not sure the specifics, but I remember me and Mad Dog were the tag champions. And
Oh, wow.
I was a kid, like I said. So in the beginning of December, a week before the tapings, I'm sledding on the big hill behind my house. And, you know, I put my skateboard ramp, stacked them on top of each other to make this awesome jump, you know, and packed all this snow around it and hit the ramp, and my sled stayed there, and I went flying. The first thing to hit was my ankle sideways, and I rolled my ankle pretty good, and I couldn't wrestle. And I was on crutches that first TV taping. I could send you footage of my promo and my prepubescent voice. It was very hilarious looking back.
Oh, please,
But,
please do.
Yes, that was the start of WVCW. My gimmick was the Super B. I dressed up in a bee costume. It was Cuban's gimmick, and he still puts it on his young kids that he tries to get into the business and stuff like that. I think there's one right now wrestling as a Super B. And then, you know, I was not progressing as a young wrestler. I wasn't showing anybody anything, I don't guess. And they wrote me off TV as the Super B. And then for 4 or 5 months, I would show up to the TV taping, put the ring up, train 10, 20, 30 minutes if I could. And then I was demoted to filming. And so I had to watch every match and film it. I was the hard cam. And I hated it. But I watched everything everyone was doing, and I told myself, man, I would have done something different there. Man, I would have done something different there. And eventually, I think Cuban spoke up and got me a better spot, and but I had to buy gear. So they didn't want the Super B. So I bought gear, and I gave them money for it, but I didn't know what I was buying.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what they were going to call me. They just told me to give them $100, so I did. And I got this flamboyant gear with a mask. It was a singlet and a mask, and they called me Downtown Bubba Brown.
Okay.
Similar to Boogie's Charlie Brown, you know. And I would do like, you know, the boogie dances and all that. Try to anyway. I remember the first time they put me in, or I got that gear, they made me get in it before the show, and they made me do my entrance in front of all the workers. And it was just to me at the time, it was embarrassing, but looking back now, they were just trying to help me get out of my shell. That's what those mask gimmicks were for. I was too nervous to try anything or do anything, but being in a mask and people not really knowing who I was allowed me to get out of my shell a little bit and try things that Benny normally wouldn't try.
Right
and
on.
once they saw I got comfortable with that, they allowed me to lose my mask in a mask versus title match or whatever. And then I think I lost the mask versus title match to Richie the Cuban, and then I wrestled him, but they wouldn't let me use my real name. Like, I wanted to be Benny Conley so bad, but they wouldn't let me. So I wrestled as Owen Conley because I liked Owen Hart. I wasn't near as good as him, but I was like, I like the name Owen. So
Right.
for about 6 months, I wrestled as Owen Conley. It was the same night of tapings that I lost the mask, and then the next week on TV, I'd won the belt as Owen Conley. But they kept accidentally calling me Benny on TV, and it worked in my favor because they scrapped Owen and just started calling me Benny.
Okay.
And the YouTube channel doesn't exist anymore, but it was a West Virginia Championship Wrestling YouTube channel, and it had like Benny Conley growing up on that YouTube pretty much.
Oh wow.
And
I remember the channel.
yeah, I'm trying to think. My first big angle was with Mad Dog Lynch because we started tagging again after that little TV title run I had, and then they let me turn heel, and I got to be his last match in a dog collar match. It was very fun. You know, most people's last matches, they go down on their back. That's just the way wrestling's always worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect the Mad Dog so much. I didn't tell him, but he beat me that night because I didn't kick out on purpose.
Oh, okay.
And at the time, I started growing my hair out. I started bleaching it blonde, and they had dubbed me the Blonde Ambition during my heel run. And I don't remember like how I turned face. Eventually, I turned baby face again, and that's whenever like I started traveling with Jason Kincaid. One of the guys that helped train me early on, the Mighty Hojo, his shoot name's Chris Foran.
Mm-hmm.
He told me for years, he's like, man, once Jason sees you, he's gonna love you, man. Like, wait till Jason sees you. And Jason had messaged me a couple of years before because Mountain State Wrestling was running in Mount Hope, the next town over from Oak Hill, and he was just trying to get me over there to train. And I had an art class with his younger brother in high school, and I was talking about how I wrestled in the art class, and he talked to his brother about it. So that's why Jason was trying to get me to do it. But some other people that was training me that wasn't Hojo told me that Jason was going to stretch me and hurt me, so I didn't go.
Oh.
But Hojo eventually got a show lined up at Concord College, and he came and picked us up, and he had like a big bed truck with a cover on the back, and we all sat back there, and that's when I met Jason. And we get to the show, and he had ribbed me because during my match it started raining real bad, so I had like a 3-minute match. I took it home early.
Mm-hmm.
When I got back to the locker room, he was like, "What, you scared a little bit of rain? Like, afraid you're gonna melt out there?" Just talking that shit like he likes to do. And that's the day, I got his information and started talking to him, and I started like hitting the road with him after that. He'd invite me to training sessions, invite me to the gym. I went to his house and wrestled on a wrestling mat he has there. Like, he really took me under his wing, and I feel like he put me through a couple of tests, just to see what kind of person I was and stuff. But after that, we started forming this bond, and it turned into a best friendship, a brotherly love, if you will.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it sounds like you've had you've had some lucky curveballs thrown your way, but at the same time, you had a good head on your shoulders, going back to whenever they demoted you at first. Me at that age, I would have blown the fuck up. I would have fucking told every story there was to tell about that locker room. I would have said, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and da-da-da-da-da. But no, you played it cool. You ran the camera. You took notes. And so, like I say, just listening to your story, yeah, you've been blessed. You was blessed to come across Jason Kincaid. But at the same time, you may not have been so blessed if you would have taken some other avenues. So I give you props on that for sure.
I appreciate that very much, man. Yeah, my parents definitely taught me patience growing up, and it's something that is learned for sure. And I would say I have that.
For sure. And hey, I think it's paying off right now. A triple champion. With 15-year-old referee Benny Conley thought he'd be holding 3 different championships in the year 2022.
Absolutely not. No. Starting from the bottom of, the bottom of the card at that age, like even whenever I get a little chance, I would see who was at the top of the card, and I'd be like, man, I don't think I could do anything with them. But now, everywhere I wrestle at, I feel like I could have a good match with anybody. Hell, a few months ago, I had a match with this young kid at Mega. His name is Ethan Barker, and he never had a singles match. and that was his first match. And like he was an example of like Jason just seeing someone at the shows wanting to train, and so Jason showed him a few things, and then here he is 3 months later having his first match.
Okay.
And that kid like went on, and he's in the Army right now. He just graduated boot camp. So
Wow. Yeah, that's one of those full circle things, you know. You were
for
that
sure,
kid, and here you are.
it's different, man. I don't know, like just thinking about everything I've been through in wrestling. I feel like I've lived a couple of lifetimes in 12 years. Just all the crazy things that happen in wrestling that normal people would think is outrageous. That's just normal to me that I don't think twice about.
Right. I can imagine. Do you still watch TV? I like it's right down the middle on my guests. A lot of guests don't watch TV wrestling or don't watch wrestling when they're not wrestling. Do you watch AEW, WWE, IWTV, or anything currently?
I'm not gonna say I'm a religious watcher, but I do keep up with what goes on. Uh, Whether I do sit down and watch it or I see some clips on the internet, like I do like to know what's going on. I do like to keep up with what's happening because I don't want to be doing something that someone on TV is doing.
Right on.
So
Mhm.
I like to try to be original that way. And I know like people's had eye poke gimmicks. Hell, look at Roddy Piper, look at Mance Warner.
Mance
You
Warner.
know, like everyone has their own play on it, and I feel like what he does is different than what I do, and
For sure.
I'm not upset that there's two people doing that. And I would hope he wouldn't be either.
Nah.
But I just coming back from my knee injury.
Mhm.
It's not the same knee it once was, and if I want to have longevity doing this, I need to figure out a way to keep myself in the ring longer. I didn't work this hard to gain all this knowledge just to get hurt and never wrestle again, and that happens to a lot of people. So if I want to have more longevity, if I want to get 12 more years out of this, I decided I want to wrestle more. I don't want to do as many flippy dive spots. And that's where the eye poking came into play, is because I can work a whole crowd. And I feel like I can get the same ooh and ah out of an eye poke as I can a dive. And so if I place it correctly and do it right, I get those reactions. And to me that means I will get more longevity out of what I'm doing, because I'm not the smallest guy, and I was doing a lot of high flying spots, and my body started paying for it. And I'm glad I looked at what was happening and changed it up, and now my body's not paying for it. I mean, wrestling and bumping around in the ring and all that's not good for your body, and you're writing checks that you're going to have to cash later. But right now my body feels better than it did a year ago, and I'm happy about that.
Good, good. And let's not get it twisted. For folks that's listening that hasn't seen some of your current stuff, you're not half-assing it by any means. You're still out there going balls out. Recent match you had with Kincaid and VCW, I saw. I heard you guys tore it down with Jason Gorey recently in VCW. That's just the stuff I'm familiar with. I'm sure there's a whole lot of. Obviously, over the weekend, you retained the title up at in Great Lakes, AIWF Great Lakes. So I mean, it's not like you're going out there and eye poking and putting some guy in a rest hold. You're earning the titles for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And I was the inaugural Great Lakes champion, so I'm the first one so far.
Hell yeah.
We'll see if there's more, but that's a fun promotion. That's a very fun crowd, and I can't wait for that match I had up there to get released, because that's the match I want to show everyone. I've had dozens, maybe hundreds of matches with Jason Kincaid. I'll go as far out to say is that nobody's wrestled Jason as much as I have, but that one is my favorite one that we've had so far.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get it out. Come on, Great Lakes. Let's get that footage out. Put it on the YouTube. I want to see it.
Yeah, I've seen it once, so I want to see it too. Yeah, I saw it the night after at the hotel.
Gotcha. Okay, and while we're on the subject, besides Kincaid, which obviously you're going to have some sentimental stuff there, but what's some other favorite matches you've had? Matches folks should go out of their way to see. Matches that meant things to you personally. What's some of your favorites?
Man, that's such a tough question, honestly.
I know it is. I get it. It's like asking me to tell you which one of my kids is the favorite, but
I want to say recently a match that meant a lot to me, and I don't know if it was just because a couple of the participants in it or whatnot, but it was like the place it was at. It was just, I don't know. The first big show I went to was a TNA show in Beckley at the Raleigh County Convention Center.
okay.
And I met Mick Foley there. Mick Foley is one of my favorites. They say don't meet your heroes. Well, you want to meet Mick Foley if he's your hero. That dude's awesome.
Yeah, he is.
And my mom completely fangirl marked out, and I was like trying to keep my cool. I'd been in the wrestling business almost a year at the time, so I knew not to completely mark out or whatever. But it was a cool thing to come back to that place and actually have a match. I want to say 11 years later. Like it was the second time I'd worked in that building, but I was in a battle royal, and I just don't feel like it was a big spotlight of a match. This time I was in a 4-team tag match and was the only heel team, and it just, I don't know. It was live on iPay-per-view, and it was just a cool feeling.
Okay.
It was for ASW in Beckley at their Bash in Beckley too. It was myself and Jeff Paul. We faced the Reality, Chance Riser, and Patrick Scott. We faced the Mid-Atlantic Outlaws, and then we faced DD Trash.
Okay.
And, Chance, I remember when he first started, that was one that Jason got a hold of early on. And sharing the ring with him was fun. I don't think we got much to do at all together in it, unfortunately. But that's a match that I want so bad. Just whether it's me versus him or it's me and Kincaid versus him or whatever the case may be, watching that kid go from knowing nothing in the ring to knowing so much is just awesome, honestly. Seeing his growth, seeing him get out of West Virginia and get out of the West Virginia drama, and to go to a bigger place where more wrestling is, like, I don't know. It was something I wanted to do, but just couldn't do, and I'm so glad that he was able to do that.
For sure. And
But
no, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
We're talking about Chance Prophet, right?
No, Chance Riser.
Oh, okay. My bad. I'm glad
You're good. Now Chance Prophet, he's a guy I never had a match with. I was supposed to have a match with him once, and I had to cancel the booking. It was right whenever my knee started giving me trouble, and then I decided to keep wrestling on it, and that situation happened. I remember I was training. We were doing a little. It was me, Jason, and Chance were training at the Haunted Barn in Charleston, and we were trying, like, how RVD would come off the ropes and turn his back and backflip off the guy bent over.
Right on.
We were kind of trying that spot. And that was the first time I ever, like, tweaked my knee. I came off of that and landed, and I was like, ooh, my knee kind of feels weird. I'm going to lay off this one. This is the first real pain I felt wrestling. I dislocated fingers and stuff like that, but no, like, real tendon pain or anything like that. That was the first real, oh man, I might need to lay off that move. I've never tried that one again, but that healed up. I remember that weekend I was supposed to face Chance Prophet. I had to cancel out because my knee hurt. And then I think I took 3 weeks off and then came back to the ring, and I was fine. And then I had got my passport and got my first international booking, went up to Toronto. Kincaid took me up there.
Oh, wow.
And I wrestled for a promotion called Lucha TO at the time.
Okay.
But I think they're called Demand Lucha now. They rebranded themselves.
Yeah, okay.
At the time, there was a character from Chikara who was up there, and he was called the Proletariat Boar.
Okay.
And I was in a squash match. It was a handicap squash, and it was him versus myself. And I was up there at the time wrestling as Becon Pa. And I was dubbed that because I'm too sweet of a person. And, I was teaming with a guy who recently graduated from Lance Storm's school, but I can't remember his name, unfortunately. And I had politicked myself to get one spot in the match.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't want to travel 12 hours in a car up to Canada just to bump my ass off. I wanted to get something.
Right.
So I was like, hey, man, you think, like, I could just hit, like, you can no-sell it, but you think I could just hit you with, like, a scissor kick, like a brogue kick type deal?
Uh-huh.
And he was like, yeah, man, that's fine. Because I hit him with a scissor kick, pick my partner up, double clothesline. He breaks through it. He hits us with a double spear, pins us. And I go to hit him with that scissor kick, and I was so committed to slapping my leg for the sound, but I was a foot away from his face.
Uh-oh.
So I decided to extend out so I would make contact. And when I did, my left leg just gave out and it collapsed on itself. And I tore a meniscus there.
Oh, okay.
So I limped up, grabbed my partner's hand, went for the double line. Or we whipped him off, went for the double line. He broke through. I like, luckily with that motion, I could do all that on my right leg pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Took the spear, and I was hurt after that. And there was this wrestler in the back, and she was talking to me and checking my knee out and everything. And she said, I'm going to school right now, and if you were in my office, I would tell you that I think you have a torn meniscus and you need to go get it looked at. And I wrestled my first RSW show, I think the week after that, with a tweaked knee. And then I remember walking to the ring, and then I jumped up into the ring and I felt my knee tweak, and I was like, ooh, that's not good. I need to be careful. And so I was careful the rest of the match. And then I wrestled for WVCW, and the same thing happened, but I was okay. And then the next week I was wrestling for WVCW again, and this is the match I tore my ACL in. And it was a tag match.
Mm-hmm.
The guy I was in the ring with Roger Ham. He was tagging with Rip Manson, and I was tagging with Garrett Coleman. Roger Ham gave me an arm drag, and I wanted to get it back, and he was calling for me to get it back out of the lockup. But I told him to push, I pulled him back to where he pushed me in the corner, and I said, up and over arm drag. So he shot me to the other corner. I went for the up and over just to be pretty, and when I landed on both feet, but I bent my right leg and I straight legged my left leg, and I tore my ACL. And I remember going to step back, and I just gave out and had to roll back.
Ooh.
And Roger's coming out of the up and over with his left arm for me to arm drag him, and then he realizes that I'm not there, and then he proceeds to stomp me. And I just tell him I'm hurt. I started cussing, and we were wrestling in a Salvation Army gym at a church.
Right.
And it took me probably 30 seconds to realize where I was, and I was like, man, I need to quit cussing. I tagged out. We were supposed to lose, but where I got hurt and everything, they switched it up and wound up letting Garrett get it over on them. And I tagged out, and I got help from the ring to behind the curtain, and then got help from Jason from behind the curtain to where I was seated. And I couldn't get my pants on. And luckily, Dan Richards was there and gave me a pair of basketball shorts to put on. And then some people were, I think everyone was out there in intermission or whatever. And Matt Klein and Michael Sizemore, who worked there, Matt was a commentator and Siz was a Russian manager. They put me into my car, and they drove me to the hospital. And I remember I knew the hospital was going to take forever. So I was like, hey, can we go through this McDonald's drive-through real quick? Because I'm so hungry.
Right.
And I couldn't walk or nothing, but we went through the drive-through. We, I think I got some McChickens or something like that. And I remember I had a doobie in my car.
Uh-huh.
And I was in so much pain. I was like, guys, I'm sorry. And they were like, don't be sorry. You need that right now. So I lit it up on the way to the hospital. and I guarantee I reeked when I went to the emergency room. And the doctor that checked me out was not very nice to me, was not very kind to me, was being very rough with me.
Uh,
And like I was like, dude, I wouldn't come in here if I wasn't hurt. Like, I don't know if you see how swollen this is, but I can't walk. He gave me some pain medication for that night, helped me go to sleep. I remember the next morning my parents came and picked me up and picked my car up, and I was in Princeton, and I had to go and get my knee checked out, and it was a series of weeks. I think the injury happened on the 17th of November, and then I didn't find out till about December 5th that I had torn my ACL, and at the time it was one meniscus. And then, like a week before Christmas, I had pivoted wrong in my house and on my leg, and my knee gave out and went slam straight to the floor. And a month later, when they opened me up for my surgery, they saw that I actually tore my other meniscus as well. So I had one slightly torn meniscus. They just shaved the tear off. I had one that was completely torn in half. They stitched it back up. And then they took from my knee to recreate the ACL from the bottom of my knee. And luckily, I had a really good sports medicine doctor. I went to Blacksburg, Virginia. And the guy who did my surgery, his name was Bart Eastwood. He was the team doctor for the Indianapolis Colts the year that Peyton Manning won, I think in like 2007.
Okay.
And he had a really good resume, really good credentials. And if you're familiar with football, he told me, I'm going to give you the same surgery they gave Adrian Peterson, except you probably won't be back to wrestling in 8 months. And he gave me I didn't get cleared till about a year after my surgery.
Wow.
I didn't have physical therapy and rehab was 6 months. I would go 4 or 5 times a week, just once a day though. Luckily I was also under my parents' insurance, so I definitely couldn't afford to do all that, but at the time, like, I was extremely lucky.
Yeah.
And got to get all that stuff done the right way. But I took 2 extra months off. So I was out of the ring for 16 months altogether, but from surgery to ring time, it was 14 months.
Wow.
And it was just tough, I remember my first match coming back. It was an RSW show in Mannington, and I was in a 6-man tag.
Okay.
And we were just putting the match together in the back, and I've never been more lost in my life. Like, I had to remember what certain things were, like, or just remember certain, I can't think of the word, certain formulas for matches and whatnot. But, after about a year, I'd got my callus back. I felt more comfortable in that. And then the pandemic happened, and I had a decision to make. It was like, do I quit wrestling? I just now got this callus back. I don't, I know what it's like to go on without wrestling. And it sucked because, it's so hard to watch the one thing you love go on without you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And at the time, that was wrestling to me. And I had a decision to make whether I wanted to keep wrestling during the pandemic or not. And I decided to, because I didn't want to lose my ring shape. But in doing so, I wasn't wrestling for any money. No gas money, no trans, nothing. And that was the part that sucked.
Wow.
I feel like we did a lot for the live wrestling community on Facebook or whatever. It definitely got a lot of views, and I was very fortunate to be booked on top. But at the same time, I felt like, I don't know. I felt like it could have been better because they were still paying people. They were bringing in bigger names than I, and it just seemed like it was an issue for them to want to help me out.
Oh, I see. I got you. And kind of to reiterate to my viewers about your injury, doctors around here are constantly, especially ER doctors, with the opiate crisis in West Virginia. It's no joke. People are going to these doctors nonstop, begging for pain medication just to catch a buzz, basically, not really injured. So for this doctor to take a look at you in the ER, smelling like weed, and for you to leave out there with any type of pain medication, you were, I mean, obviously you were screwed up because you needed surgery, but
Absolutely.
and you said, he wasn't kind to you. He was, and that's the way doctors are around here. Number one, if you're a good doctor, you're getting the hell out of this state so you can make some money. And number
For sure.
two, yeah, and they're inundated every day with just junkies all day trying to get their medication. So, God, my hat goes off to you going through that process. My God.
Yeah, I after that experience, I decided I didn't want to have my surgery in West Virginia, and
Good.
luckily the guy who I can't think of his name, but he was the bone doctor that read me my MRI and everything. He asked me if I was willing to travel, and I said absolutely. And had my surgery in Blacksburg, Virginia. I'm trying to think the date. It was January 23rd, 2018.
Okay.
I had my surgery. I remember coming out of anesthesia, like my body woke up before my eyes opened up. So like I could hear the conversation that was happening in the room, but I couldn't join in. I could just listen. It was weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the nurses came to check on me, and she was like, "Oh, he'll be waking up soon. If we're not around, just come holler at us and if he wakes up." And then like, I don't know how long it took, but I woke up and was quickly released and wheelchaired to the car. And I was on some, had a lot of pain meds in me. And I remember it's about a 2-hour drive from my house in Oak Hill to Blacksburg, maybe an hour 45. But by the time we got to the toll in Beckley, the anesthesia wore off. I was in a lot of pain, and it was a bad couple of hours for me because where it was an out-of-state surgery and prescription they wrote, the medication, I had like an hour wait on it because of that.
Oh,
So I had
wow.
to just sit at my house in pain. And finally the medication came and it took my pain away and it helped me out. And then the next day I was in pain, and I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to take one of those pills. But I was telling my parents, like, I don't want the bottle next to me. I want y'all to hang on to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that pill the next day and got a buzz off of it. And I was like, wow, I see why people like these. I don't want to mess with these.
Yeah.
And after that, dumped them down the drain. I just started smoking the cannabis, man.
Hell yeah, good.
It helped me deal with my pain, where the pain medication would take my pain away.
Mm-hmm.
Once it wore off, my pain would be right back there, and I'd be hurting so bad, you'd want another one. Well, with the cannabis, you smoke it or consume it however you do.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take my pain away, but it definitely helps me deal with it. And so that's a bonus, I will say.
For sure. You made the right choice. I had gallbladder surgery when I was 15 years old, and they prescribed me Percocets. And without making the show about me, that was that took probably a good 10 years of my life. Back then, I lived in Barber County, West Virginia. There wasn't a whole lot of weed to be found. I smoked it when it was available, but it wasn't as available as pain medicine was. So,
and that's a shame, man.
Yeah, and so like I say, it is what it is. You made the right choice, and look at you. Obviously, you made the right choice. You're out here killing it today. So you were there at the ground level of RSW, but I think we kind of scratched to why we don't see you in RSW as often, which totally understandable. But
there's more to it. I could talk about it if you want me to.
Yeah, hey, we're all ears for sure. Go ahead and go into watching RSW come about. Why you're not there? I'm all ears. Let's have at it.
Yeah. So I feel like they had ideas for me before my injury for RSW, and injury happened. I was, not forgotten about, but they can't use me, so they're not going to be thinking about me. But TJ did keep in touch with me. Tim did keep in touch with me, and at the time they were working together and everything. And coming into it, I told them, if y'all want me, it was a March date. I feel like they were trying to get me for February, but I was like sticking to my 14 months gun, 2 extra months. Like I need it. So I was like, I can't do February, but I could do March.
Okay.
And they brought me in, and I'm working for them for a little while, and working on the undercard a little bit, and I'm like seeing if I still have it, and I was very thankful for them to even let me have that platform to see if I still wanted to do this, and turns out I do, and eventually I was booked to win the title off of TJ, and I was very happy about that. We had this really cool angle, and it ended with every time I'd had a match with TJ, he would get out of it in a big heelish way. I had him beat, but he outsmarted me. And this time it was I had him beat and I outsmarted him. And then I went on to have a really good run during the pandemic with the RSW Championship. I want to say like 25 defenses. It was a lot for a year in a pandemic.
Yeah.
And
at that time, RSW is popping too. Like, you guys are getting all kinds of views on Facebook. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like during the pandemic, RSW was really shining.
For sure, yeah. Like, it was a perfect time for live wrestling, and I was very happy to be a part of that. But I could not make a Connecticut show, and they had to have their champion up there. And going through everything with me, I always talked to Tim, and it was always that way. And I'm not gonna bash the guy or nothing. Like, he's a good dude for the most part, but I couldn't make the Connecticut show, and they had to get their belt there. So I was wrestling for Moose and Beckley, and Kincaid walks up to me and he's like, "Hey man, today's for the RSW Championship, right? Or you can't make Connecticut." And I was like, "No, in fact, I don't know that." And that was not communicated to me, buddy. And he's like, "Well, do you got the belt?" And I said, "No, Tim has that."
Oh.
Because some stones had fallen off the belt, so Tim wanted to try to get him put back on or something like that. Or I think he was getting it painted purple, or I'm not sure what he was doing. But I didn't have the belt at the time.
He was getting it off you, but go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I couldn't make Connecticut because I couldn't ask him for the money I was missing at my shoot job for the week, plus a hotel room, plus pay me to wrestle. Like, it was way too much for me to miss out on and ask for. And he just couldn't understand that. Or if he could, he didn't give it to me that he could understand that. So, meanwhile, at this show in Beckley, I'm wrestling Jason at. It's already for a championship for this promotion. So it's going to look really weird if it's for a championship that's physically here and a John Cena championship that you can't even see. So, we decided, if they want to share the footage, let them. But, this is just going to confuse everybody if we say it's for two. So we just said it was for one belt. They shared the footage and said I lost the match to Jason for the RSW Championship, so Jason could go up to Connecticut with the belt. And, I'm not mad at Jason. That's not his fault whatsoever. He's just making money wrestling, and I don't blame him. But I couldn't make the booking, and that's how they decided to take it from me. So, me being petty, because I do get that way sometimes, I decided I didn't want to wrestle there anymore. So that's why I'm not there. It's nothing against any of the guys that wrestle there or decide to wrestle there. I love all of them and do want to have matches with them. And, I've seen Zeke's run, and I'm happy that, he's had his time to shine and everything. And Zeke's a very good talent that I do want to be in the ring with one day, and maybe it'll line up. I don't think it'll happen to RSW, but hopefully somewhere else it does.
For sure. That'd be a dream match. That's definitely a match I'd like to see. I'd pay money to see as a fan, for sure. Zeke occasionally, have I seen him in VCW, or am I just thinking that?
Yeah, he's been there.
Well,
Both times I've been there, he was there.
Okay. Yeah, he was in the War Games match recently, so yeah, it's very possible. So
And
yeah,
then another good match I had there was one of my last matches for RSW. I had a good one with Andrew Palace in front of like no fans because it was still pandemic rules. And then I had a really good one with Remy LeBay as well.
Remy's good.
Yeah, I love Remy. I love Andrew Palace too. Those two guys are really good. I guess answering your question from earlier, a match that means a lot to me. It was one of the pandemic matches on the RSW channel, Benny Conley versus Andrew Palace, and man, I got to figure out what episode that's from or whatever. But to me, that match is up there in my top 10. It was a really good match.
I've been scouring the archives. I'll find it for you and shoot it over to you. I can do that
Awesome.
much. I'm good for that, by God. No doubt. And we were discussing, since I threw out VCW, how's that to work? VCW working for Beastman. I mean, on the outside looking in, very legitimate looking as far as production and things of that nature.
So not only is it legitimate looking, and some people will laugh, and I don't let them. Beastman runs one of the most professional indie shows I've ever worked for, and it's so fun to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Just, the meeting beforehand, the lineup sheets, he's got what he needs from who, like whether it's a promo or whatever it may be, like listed with the matches. It's no confusion whatsoever. The announcers come to you to get information, and everybody there seems very passionate about what they're doing, and that's always a fun atmosphere to be in.
Okay. Well, it comes across. It comes across. I mean, yeah, I'm biased because I know a lot of the guys on the shows, but as far as an independent fed, it's a fun show to watch, and I sit there and I watch it from second number one to 2.5 hours in, wherever it may end. It's nonstop. It's a good show. And that something else I wanted to touch on, kind of throw at me what it's like working an iPay-per-view as opposed to just your run-of-the-mill indie show. What kind of memories do you have working from those type of shows?
Well, there's more stress on an iPay-per-view. You got to hit your time cues. Time is the most important thing,
Mm-hmm.
And on something like a regular indie show, your time, like you don't have to worry about entrance. You just worry about like bell to bell what your time is. But on an iPay-per-view, like entrance times matter. Like they'll sometimes include those with your match times. So it makes you think, man, I need to get to the ring quicker,
Mm-hmm.
I think we had, what was it? I think we had like 12 or 13 minutes for that Beckley show we were on the iPay-per-view on, that 4-man tag match I was telling you about. And that was not including entrances, thankfully. But if it would have, we would have been struggling because there was a lot of people making entrances. But it's more about just time for everything. That's the most important thing because they're trying to fit it in a certain limit. Some of these iPay-per-views, that's the first big shows that people are really practicing time cues and, oh shit, I got to go home now. Oh man, this took longer than I thought. Or sometimes it's the other way around. It's like, man, I still got 3 minutes and I'm done with this match. Like it's just about stretching everything out correctly and not overdoing nothing.
I see. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense to me. Hey, it sounds like you're doing it all. Still plenty more to come. What are we looking at in the future? What would you like to accomplish in the future?
I feel like I've been in this area a long time. I would love to travel more for sure. I want to take that next step, but man, it's crazy because like I've been doing this for 12 years. I'm 27. I turn 28 next week, and I've been doing this so long, but I'm still a young guy.
Yep.
And people are hitting their primes right now in their 40s and 50s again.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not shaming the 39-year-old wrestler like they were 10 years ago. So who's to say that it's going to suck if it takes me 20 years to get there, but if it takes me 20 years to get there, then it'll be worth it. But you always have those thoughts like, man, I need to hang this up, or I need to go get a real job, or blah, blah, blah. But I feel like if I ever did that, it would just be sitting in the back of my head, what if, for the rest of my life. And I don't want to think, what if, I've been so passionate about this for my whole life. And I want to make, everyone's goal should be to make a living wrestling. Some people say everyone's goal should be main event of WrestleMania. Well, that'd be awesome. But realistically, that's not going to happen for everyone.
Yep.
But more people can have the goal to actually make money wrestling. That's going to happen for more people. And, I want to leave it better than I found it too. And I know it's a lot like a generic answer or whatever, but something I've been doing when I wrestle the West Virginia Indies is I really focus on helping out younger talent, whether I'm in the ring with them or they need help putting a match together or whatever. I'm not one of those guys that's like, it's my knowledge, not yours. Like, I'm not selfish whatsoever. If I have an answer to help them figure their match out, even if it's something that I do, I'm going to help them out because I'm not selfish like that. I'm in this to help everyone out, and like getting deep into wrestling, we're literally helping each other out when we're in there.
Exactly.
So,
yep.
like, to me, it's crazy because wrestling is one of the few places where, I could travel a day to go wrestle and then meet this guy I've never met before, but because he's a wrestler, I'm going to trust him with my body and vice versa. And we're going to have this match together and we're going to hope it's going to kill. And afterwards, shake each other's hand, give each other a hug, and maybe never even see each other again. But to me, that's part of the magic of pro wrestling.
You took the words from my mouth. I preach it every episode. There is certainly a magic to it. Even me running a shitty little podcast, everybody has been so welcoming and so cool, and just I could go on all day. And like you say, it's magic. So I appreciate what you're doing, obviously, for the future generation. At the same time, you got to look out for number one. And, hey, AIWF, you're holding, 2 of their championships right now, right?
I want to say 3. Mega is underneath the AIWF banner.
Oh, okay.
So,
and for the listeners that don't know, that is the oldest sanctioning body still going today. I mean, there's roots in AIWF.
I think they're in like 89 or 90 countries too. So, I mean, they're pretty big. They're bigger than they seem, for sure.
For sure. For sure. Like, I go through my YouTube subscriptions. I might watch Fed out of Florida, Fed out of Puerto Rico, and it's for an AIWF championship. It's not a prominent name like Impact or AEW, but by God, if you go through archives and look back, that name's going to be everywhere. Vimeo, they have a Vimeo channel full of stuff.
They have a Roku as well. I think it's their Mid-Atlantic promotion. They have a Roku channel, and I primarily wrestle for that one as well.
Okay.
I'm honestly not sure if there's anybody else holding multiple AIWF championships like I am either. And, a goal of mine within the AIWF is to win a world championship and like travel different countries with that world championship and wrestle. I was legitimately born in Panama City, Panama. My dad was in the service. He was in the Marine Corps first, and he met my mom in California there, and then got out of the Marine Corps, got into the Army, went to Panama. He was in Central America for 4 years. Luckily, I was only there for 3 months. But he was from West Virginia, so that's why we came back here. But my goal is to find a tour or find bookings and get booked on my way down to Panama, and then get booked on my way back through Mexico, back to West Virginia, and potentially like try to film it documentary style. Maybe, who knows? Maybe like Wrestling Road Diary style.
There you go.
But like, to me, like, as a human being, we're so interested in where we came from. For the most part, it's like religion or what happens after death. But for me, it's like, most people that were around this area were born here. They could go visit where they were born. I've never visited where I was born. So like, that's something I want to do before I hit the hay. And that's something I've been thinking about. It's been on the back burner for sure, but it would be really cool to get bookings down to Central America and get bookings on the way back too.
Nice. And that goes back to the magic of pro wrestling. Wrestling
Absolutely.
could very well make that happen for you. And also, once you get the footage, don't be paying nobody to edit it. I got it for you. I'll be happy to edit that bitch together.
That's sweet, man.
Hell yeah. Well, it's truly been a pleasure, Mr. Conley. I think we just scratched the tip of the iceberg because, believe me.
Yeah, man. I just looked at the clock and we're already over an hour in this thing, and I feel like I've been talking for 10 minutes.
Exactly. We have fun. We have fun on here, and definitely an educational experience. So, in a perfect world, I'd like to get you back on sooner than later because I know you got
I feel like we should. Yeah.
And we never did mention, this is the first episode, I got to throw it out there, we always mention T-Rantula. What do you know on T-Rantula?
I mean, you might have to swing me up to T-Rantula.
Okay, that's all right. He's a local legend we throw on every episode. So when we get you back, you go through your Rolodex, and I'm sure you can find me a story on T-Rantula for the next episode. There's no doubt.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I'll make sure I have 2 of them.
Yeah, because I'm an old head, so when I was going to indie shows back in the day, we had Champagne against T-Rantula headlining every night, baby, and the Rock and Roll Express were there.
Yeah, you had to bring someone to sell those seats out, right?
Well, T-Rantula is that guy. I think he's still going. We're gonna find him. We mention him on every show. We're trying to get him some guest referee work in RSW, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. It's a pipe dream of mine, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
shout out T-Rantula.
T-Rantula, baby. And before I let you go, the floor is all yours. Plug what you got to plug. Let me know where folks can see you. What we're looking forward to the future. The floor is all yours, good sir.
Yeah, my social medias are easy to find. It's just at Benny Conley. I think it's the same for my YouTube page, and my Facebook is Benny Conley Jr. Add me, follow me, interact with me. Sometimes I suck at getting back, but I promise I will.
You're better than most.
Pro wrestling is my life. I don't know what I would be without it. And if you're listening to this and made it this far, I really, truly appreciate you. And, I hope to see all of you guys at the big show one day. That's my goal.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, it has truly been an honor. And, of course, I've been Spooky Lou. This has been WrestleRoni. Just treat each other nicely and be kind to one another. Let's just try to coexist in this crazy world. And if it gets too crazy, just sit back and turn on a little bit of wrestling. You'll be all right. You'll make it. We're tough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Benny Conley can come back from 2 torn up knees to 3 world championships. Then you can at least have 1. That's what I'm saying. I appreciate you, Mr. Conley. It's been WrestleRoni. And like he said, if you made it this far, you're a fucking warrior. You're a trooper. We love you. And we're going to get this man back on the show real soon. I thank you, Mr. 3-time champion.
Appreciate you having me on. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Thank y'all for listening. Enjoy your day.
And joining me now is the Super B. And Super B, I can do nothing but see you on crutches. And I know that you were a tag team champion. I can see you without the belt. And I don't see your partner here. What's going on?
Well, the other day we were in Hampton, Georgia, and it was a brutal match, and the Outlaws, they had to cheat to win, but they injured my buddy Mad Dog, and right now he's in the hospital, and they broke my ankle, and as you can see, I'm on crutches here, and...
Whoa, guys, hey, come on.
No, see.
Come on, what's going on?
See, what happened in Hampton, Georgia is simply this, that the better athletes and the better tag team... First of all, hey, boy, go get in a chair. Go sit down, punk. Hey, come bring me back to the board.
He's taking the mic.
Twit. See, he doesn't even know what he's doing. Look.
Bring him out, let's go. No!
game plan for you.
Get back in the ring. Get back in the ring. Off the base. Stay off the base. Back him out of the corner. Come on, back up. 1, 2, 3. Up there. Help you. Going up top, how about it? Die, King King, die! Back in the ring! Oh! No! Oh, yes, I give up! That's it,